Désolé les amis. Yo tout le monde, comment vous allez? On se retrouve pour la partie 2 de Gonome. Le platinium. J'ai pas bougé depuis mon arrêt, j'ai...
You know that feeling where the first moment you see someone, it's like they have a big gold star around them, and you have to get to know them? Well, there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kind of punk, but sometimes I see her in this, like, army uniform, and she's always drawing in this notebook, looking so intense. I had no idea how I would ever, like, have an excuse to talk to her. Till I noticed she and her friends hang out and play Street Fighter at the 7-Eleven every day after school.
Hein? Oh, j'abuse. J'abuse.
Dans l'eau. Bah si, il y a deux. Bah si. Bah tu joues pas dans l'eau, c'est marrant. Allez Marina, maintenant tu vas aller jouer avec les paquets. À deux.
So, Christmas Duck. Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly because it's a weird concept, a Christmas duck, and partly because it's like the first unique thing that... Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fulbright Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer. Yeah, the biggest purpose of the card was, yeah, to say, oh, Sam is 17, you know, if you look.
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different moms for handwriting.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating a lot of the environment assets for the game. Not all of them, some of them I had help with, which I'll touch on a little later, but most of the stuff like the walls and the floors, some of the larger pieces of furniture were my doing, and I'm going to be talking about some of the environmental storytelling aspects in Gone Home. I feel like
The fact that there are speedruns for our game makes me really happy, and the fact that, you know, that...
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen.
The Goodfellow High School jacket and the logo generally is a reference to the logo for Minerva's Den, the you know, the section of Rapture that that DLC takes place in, that we worked on together.
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home.
Hi, this is Corin Tucker from Heavens to Betsy. And Heavens to Betsy was a band that formed in 1991.
So here's one of Dad's pulpy JFK books.
The doors were actually one of the hardest things in the game to get working correctly, and I know that there's still some bugs existing with the doors, actually. But it's a surprisingly hard problem, which is why...
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is a...
Inside of this file folder, you find the first combination code in the game. This code goes to Dad's locked filing cabinet, and it's 0451, which is a bit of a tradition slash in-joke. When you're
so these are all the VHS tapes, or most of them, in the house, and...
My name is Sarah Grayson, and I do the voice of Sam Greenbrier in Gone Home. Currently based out of Portland, Oregon, so right around where the Fulbright Company is from, which is part of, I guess, how this all came to be. I started doing voiceover work probably about 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a bit of an on and off journey, because I also...
Most of the bookshelves in the house are filled with undifferentiated books. I mean, they're not This is our old-timey record that we got from archive.org, source of all good things. It's by Adrian Rollini when he was with, apparently, the Taproom Gang. The song is entitled Got a Need for You, in case you can't read it, but you should be able to read it. And the duck I found on the internet. I
feel like one of the best bits of advice was actually from the Fulbright team before going in to do the first recording. And it was a suggestion that I should watch some episodes of My So-Called Life, which was great because I'd watched them all when when they were actually on. It was one of those favorite shows my sister and I would sit down and watch every week. And so going back and watching them was definitely not a hard chore to have to do. So I basically went through all of the episodes I could find online. So you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? Yeah, turns out it applies to Street Fighter too. At least I worked up the courage to walk into the 7-Eleven and ask for a turn, but all that practice at home did not exactly translate in the wild. So after I was finished getting my butt kicked, I followed them outside while they smoked. And that was when she asked me if I was that psycho house girl. But then she said she's always really wanted to see the psycho house. Her name is Lonnie. She's coming over tomorrow.
We never really discussed the idea of individually scoring each audio log ahead of time. I just got an email one day from Steve after they had done the first round.
I had seen Bikini Kill and Bratmobile play their first show at the North Shore Surf Club in Olympia. That was Valentine's Day, 1991. And I was kind of blown away by the incredible rawness and the honesty that they wrote with, and the kind of flippancy that they had. I thought was really interesting. But to have the opportunity to talk about all of these issues that are really important to young women, I thought was really special. And I thought that what they were doing was taking the kind of intense feminist ideas that had become popular in the 70s with, SDSS, and now, those really, incredible ideas and the ideology of feminism, but they were putting it into a language for today, for the 90s, I guess. That was 20 years ago, but it was for young people, and it was to relate to topics about sexuality, about sex, about sexual abuse, about sexism and harassment, and all these things that are really important for young women coming of age and becoming sexual beings that are really taboo to talk about.
Il y a des bruits dans le jeu, ça veut flipper ça. Il y a quelqu'un qui marche. Les graissements de porte et tout.
This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties: Austin County, Boone County, Dawn County, Tacoma County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay.
Ah ouais, il casse les couilles les voisins. Faut que il faut que du bruit tout le temps. Ouais, c'est bon. Bon, du coup, la porte là, elle est fermée pour le sous-sol. Donc je suis niqué, il me faut la clé. On va aller voir dedans, là, j'ai pas été dedans. J'y étais, mais j'ai pas fouillé les coffres.
Around here, so these are stereographic, stereoscopic, yeah, these are stereograms.
Yeah,
that's the
stereogrammatic.
Yeah, stereograms, popularized by the Magic Eye brand of images from the 80s and 90s. These really work. Like if you cross your eyes and you can do a Magic Eye image. I was one of the hosts of the Idle Thumbs video game podcast for a year or two, and I, go on there and every once in a while those guys. Mom and Dad are much more actively religious. There's a Bible in the foyer, and there's a Bible in Dad's bedside table.
Well, or arguably they want to appear actively religious. But yes.
Yeah, I think that, my intent was that they aren't super religious, but they probably still go to church.
And they also they would feel bad if they put their Bibles away. They'd be like, oh, we need those to be out for us to look at, to consult in case we need them, or something.
But it's definitely, I don't know, it comes from my own experience of my parents went to church and were more religious and stuff, and Barf Burger is enjoyed by all. So the thing is, I drew the Barf Burger because I drew all of Lonnie's drawings. So I drew the two cats on the motorcycle and the Captain Allegra drawings and stuff like that. And that was really I think that it goes hand in hand with, I did Lonnie's handwriting in the game and Carla did Sam's handwriting. The life cycle of the condom.
That's not a real thing, Steve.
The Life Cycle of the Condom by Carla Zamanja
is as follows. Initially, the condom was a separate plot point. It was an actual plot point.
One of my favorite things that came out during development was someone wrote an email mistakenly referring to mittens, and Steve replied in the voice of Katie, saying, "It's just Mitten. She's only one cat, Mom."
Another board game. This one wasn't done by me, though. This one was done by Carla.
So there's a lot less density in the house than there would be in a real house. Like, if you look around your house, there's just junk piled everywhere, probably.
Maybe
like,
it's just our house.
I think it's most house.
Oh, you're right.
But, so, you know, our strategy was you either fully invest in something and, you know, put, like, a plausible representation of this aspect of a room in, or you just don't put it in at all. And the player will fill in the gaps between, like, oh, these are all the things that represent the kind of room I'm supposed to be in, and it doesn't jump out at me that there's no toilet plungers in the bathroom or whatever. But the biggest instance of this that I think actually totally worked, because no one has ever called it out, is, surprise, think about it, there are no shoes in this house. Ta-da! Almost none of the events, the little events in the game, are scripted as far as, like, triggering when you do something specific. So all of the thunder and lightning and the creaky noises in the house, they're all just randomized on timers. The only, like, scripted thing is in the secret passageway when you look at the...
I really enjoyed playing Gone Home. I have to say it was pretty exciting to find the Heavens to Betsy tape, you know, because that was really, I mean, those songs really did come out on a cassette tape at the time, and that really was how people discovered the music, was getting a cassette tape passed around. So getting to put it in the actual tape player and play it and listen to our song, it definitely gave me chills. I mean, it was like, wow, you know, how exciting for a young person today to get that moment of discovery and to listen to our music. I mean, I think it's great.
You want to talk about a place for Christmas stuff?
This is where Christmas stuff goes.
I think this is one where
It's one of those things where we had always wanted to... Well, we had wanted to pay off Sam's darkroom by letting you go in it and see photos. So this is the last room in the game, or at least the last room chronologically in the story.
You made it.
You did it! Yeah, this is where you find Sam's journal that you have been hearing diary entries from, and it's revealed, or I guess implied retroactively, that, you know, the game has been taking place in a flashback basically, and Katie read Sam's diary that was addressed to her and is now thinking back to what she saw in the house. So thanks for playing through with commentary mode and listening to us and Yonaman and Kate and Sarah Grayson and Chris Remo and Corin Tucker from Heavens to Betsy and Slater Kinney, who, again, thank you to her for taking her time to record some of her recollections and thoughts for this. But yeah, just thanks for playing, and we hope that you got something good out of all of our jibber jabber.
It's okay if you didn't.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Goodbye. We love you.
Yeah, I guess.
Ok. Donc c'est dans la pièce là. Trop faux plutôt, c'est vieille maison.
The music for Gone Home was mainly composed over two separate periods, roughly a year apart. A version of Part 1 of the game had to be ready by October 2012 for submission to the 2013 Independent Games Festival, so I did all the Part 1 audio logs primarily that.
Fanzines, I mean, that's one of the things that we started doing right away, was doing these Riot Girl fanzines, and everyone would contribute and write.
So earlier in an earlier version of the story in Gone Home, Sam and Lonnie got caught together, and Lonnie's dad was like an asshole about it and threatened to send Lonnie to live with her mom in Florida. And we cut that. It was too melodramatic and it wasn't really interesting. It was external force that was acting on them, which I wasn't super excited about in practice and so on and so forth. But
all of the sliding doors that you see in the game are actually, from a code perspective, drawers. When I made a thing that could slide along a track.
You know, it's really about the ideals that...
Writing Sam was a unique challenge. Just in the sense of, on the one hand, it was very much from my personal experience because it's about being a teenager and my memories from that time, you know, as an individual, but also
when you put out any sort of content about your game,
for a long time the kitchen was not going to be mid-renovation the way that it is. And it's one of those things that
definitely the second half was where a lot more of the emotional weight in the character came out, and that was a lot to handle, but a lot of fun to do too, because I've really not gotten to do a character that actually was so, I guess, emotionally real and so human. You know, it's you're not doing some commercial selling you thing or not doing some sort of sci-fi fantasy world sort of story. It was very real.
So I'm Sarah Argadale. This is my salad dressing, named for my experience with being in Russia and that being what everyone knows me for. I studied Russian in college and I lived there for about a year teaching English when I finished school, and it was a cool thing that happened in my life.
So that...
Lonnie had her going away show with her band tonight. She's so...
I'd already played through the first full half of Gone Home before I started composing any music, which was really important to understand how the game felt and played and looked. But I didn't get a build of the complete game until I'd already been delivered the Part 2 audio logs, and then ended up not playing any of the second half of the game until it was fully complete and I'd written all the music. This wasn't originally my intention, but it meant
really early on, we didn't really give Kate very specific direction for this. She gave us... You want to talk about this fucking jazz mug?
Nobody wants to talk about the jazz mug.
Well,
it's
except
the
for
worst.
Carla.
I hate it. It's the worst.
that was such a common theme
Yeah.
when we were like approving assets or making stuff visually for Gone Home. Is just like, oh my god, that's hideous. I fucking hate it. We're putting it in the game.
Yeah,
because like
so
just
much
like
of that.
awful '90s furniture and like
we see it in a a secondhand store or like
or you
just
see
on
it
the
in the
internet.
Sears catalog we
Yeah,
bought,
it's
and it's just
true.
like that is so
We just
many
feel like,
fucking
oh,
ruffles on it. I want to puke. Like the wicker furniture in Mom and Dad's room.
Right.
It's like that's fucking hideous.
We need it.
Bon, à mon avis, je crois que je vais dans le sous-sol.
Putback is the feature that I'm happiest with in the game. It actually came about as sort of a little bit of an accident. Playtesters had told us they didn't want to feel...
Oh man, this thing.
So two things. One, Mom's Canadian.
Yay!
Two, Mom didn't start out Canadian. The reason that Mom is Canadian is because Kate Craig and Emily Carroll
One of the larger assets that we needed for the basement to really give it character and personality was a furnace. And when we were initially thinking of the furnace, Steve had mentioned to me the furnace from Home Alone, which if you grew up in the 90s like I did.
Composing the ambient exploration tracks definitely ended up being the weirdest part of creating music for Gone Home. The audio diaries tended to take precedence since they had such clear criteria for completion, so the ambient tracks were the last things I did. I spent so long immersed in the logs, which were very specifically timed, that to suddenly shift gears to creating these slow, standalone 5-minute pieces was surprisingly difficult. I remember giving Steve a first stab at the ambient track for part 2 of the game, and I didn't hear anything back about it. When I eventually asked if he had any feedback, he said something like, "Oh yeah, it's great, I just slowed it down by 50% and it totally works," which cracked me up, because I definitely didn't have that in mind. But that's one of the great things about collaborative work, so I just went with it. I ended up doing a number of further revisions where I'd alter elements of the original version specifically to affect how the 50% slowed version would sound. It was definitely a new experience for me, writing bits of music and trying to imagine how they would sound after it's been considerably distorted. They got weirder though. The ambient track for part 1...
So there's this little...
You know, there was kind of this intellectual, cross-cultural, like, pen pal thing that happened before the internet. You know, we used to write letters back and forth to each other about our ideas and about how we wanted to change things. And so a bunch of these women that I mentioned came up with this idea of Riot Girl, of being a punk rocker that was also an in-your-face feminist.
Se van a hacer voz de cascuela.
I'm so stupid sometimes. I was telling Lonnie that I got into my college summer program thing, and I was all making plans like, you should come visit me, stay in my dorm room. But she said, Sam, I ship out on June 6th. I was like, ship out? To where? She said, to basic training. What did you think I was doing all that ROTC stuff for? I guess she's been planning to join the army right after high school since she was like 12. And I guess she's really going to do it. So I was like, after graduation, I'm just never going to see you again? She said, let's just have fun while we can.
2 minutes les amis, je regarde la copette de trophée. Je comprends pas, j'ai tout pris. Il reste une porte. Il me reste une porte ouverte. Mais comment l'ouvrir?
C'est impressionnant de loin. Regarde à côté d'une personne comment ça fait.
Si, c'est grand quand même.
C'est impressionnant à voir. Hein.
J'aurais bien voulu.
C'est beau à voir. Puis les gens ils sont là.
Sur la queue, en fait, sur la queue, il y a des escaliers, c'est des lattes de bois. Voilà, comme les ponts, là.
Comme les ponts de singe.
Ouais, c'est ça. Et on n'a pas pu monter dedans.
Pourquoi?
Bah, il n'y a plus de place. C'est tout était réservé.
Ah, il est gratuit en plus.
Non, il est pas gratuit. Mais nous, on n'aurait pas payé avec Cœur de Ville. Sinon, Cœur de Ville, elle aurait pris les places. On n'a pas pu. Et si tu veux y aller tout seul, le BA, elle a attendu, c'est 9 €.
Ça va encore en même temps.
I don't get Lonnie sometimes. Like, her band, and our zine, and her hair, and everything are all anti-authority. But I watch her in JROTC, and she's doing drills in perfect formation. Katie, you know how Mom and Dad are. Not exactly super open-minded about things. It feels like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen?
All of the sliding doors that you see in the game are actually, from a code perspective, drawers. When I made a thing that could slide along a track like that, for the purpose of making drawers, Steve took it and, as designers are wont to do, used it for his own purposes and came up with sliding doors in our game.
Et c'était quoi leur dernière appartient que t'as vu?
Les Sophia Pilafi, là, sa sœur.
Ouais.
C'est le mystère. Et il se promène. Et d'un seul coup, il se fait arrêter par son père. William. Pas Samuel, William.
Ah, William.
Il les arrête. Il dit, j'ai une surprise. Montez avec moi en voiture. Elle dit, on va où? Elle dit, déjà, vous me donnez votre téléphone. Si je prends votre téléphone. Elle dit, bah, l'autre, Sophie, elle dit, pas pourquoi. Elle dit, il dit, bah, tu me donnes ton téléphone, coupé de réseau internet, Snapchat, il dit tout, je veux plus. Il dit, là, on va à une sortie, c'est entre nous. Elle dit, on va où aussi? Il dit, bah, on va faire du karting sur sable, en gros. Et du coup, elle dit, ouais, mais non, moi, je peux pas. Elle dit, moi, j'ai Arthur, je crois, son copain qui s'appelle. Il vient, je lui ai dit de venir la chercher. Elle dit, bah, il aura le temps. Il dit oh, le temps plus tard, tant pis. Et en fait, c'est pas Arthur qui a envoyé un message. Elle a envoyé un message à Samuel pour se rencontrer, pour aller se voir à la plage. Et là, elle va avec son père à la plage. Et c'est écrit que elle a peur que les deux ils se voient et qu'elle sait que William sait que elle lui parle. Parce qu'elle veut pas que son père, il sait qu'elle parle à son père biologique. Parce qu'elle et Samuel ils se reparlent. C'est juste ça. Mais la porte comment lui? Attention au casque.
La caméra que tu veux te prendre, elle va servir à quoi?
Quoi?
La caméra que tu veux te prendre?
Bah j'ai deux caméras à acheter.
Hein?
Il y a deux caméras.
Non mais c'est la 200.
C'est à 200 €, c'est le gros casque là.
Oh le VR,
Ouais.
ouais. On pourra mettre des jeux de poissons.
Bah ouais. Après, celle que je prends à 80 €, là, 20 € là, Easy Cash, c'est pour mes lives, pour qu'on voit sur mes lives. Là, ça m'énerve, je suis bloqué là.
This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports
Demain, il n'y a pas atelier à
high
continuer.
rain conditions affecting the
Ça
following
reprend samedi prochain.
Austin County, Boone County, Dawn County, Tecumseh County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations. This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties: Austin County, Boone County, Dawn County, Tecumseh County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations. This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties: Austin County, Dawn County, Tecumseh County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations.
Attends, faut que je regarde, mais je suis bloqué.
This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties:
Donc là, il y en a un.
County, Boone County, Dawn County, Tacoma County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations.
Deux. 3.
This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties:
4.
Austin County,
5.
Boone County, Dawn County, Tacoma County, and Wistaria County.
6.
Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations. This is a severe weather warning. The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds and torrential rain conditions affecting the following counties: Austin County, Boone County, Dawn County, Tacoma County, and Wistaria County. Residents are strongly urged to stay indoors and secure all windows and doors. Flood conditions are expected at lower elevations.
7.
Papa, Nini.
8.
This is a severe weather.
Donc là.
The Northwest Weather Service reports high winds.
I mean, I've always, one of the most comforting things in the world to me is having some.
A lot of Gone Home is about pointless interactivity that is sort of things being interactive for the sake of them being interactive, but it really comes from our inspirations of immersive sims like System Shock and Bioshock.
The boxes of tampons that you can find in the washrooms around the house, they weren't originally on the list of items that needed to be modeled, but when you're creating a bathroom at that level of fidelity, and when you're creating a bathroom for a teenage girl, no less, the idea of not having something like that is kind of jarring, or it was kind of jarring to me. Especially because when you're at that age, you're one of the assets that I really liked creating in the game were these board games. So there's 3 in total of them throughout the house. Ideally there'd be more, but we had to focus on the getting the walls built and things like that. But I really like them. They're just a simple extruded cube. There's something about environment design that's really fun. There's really a goofy aspect of it where you have to create fake brand names. You have to create fake toys and fake storefronts. Maybe my favorite is in the game Costume Quest, when you're going to the shopping mall, there's a store called Why Not Flip Flops, which always makes me really happy. But this one is a parody of Dream Phone, which is an awful game that came out in the early 90s, where you sit around a table with your girlfriends and you pick up this plastic pink phone and call these sexy boys and you see which one likes you.
Oh.
It doesn't really suit Sam's personality exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I figure maybe it was given to her by a well-intentioned relative who doesn't quite have her personality down. And maybe she played it once on a lark and then put it in the closet and that's where it stays.
Tu dis quoi?
Ce genre de couple.
On joue tous les deux.
J'aimerais bien.
On voit.
Je m'en prendrais.
Ouais. Mais bon, passe mon Ginny, s'il te plaît. Deux secondes les amis, je suis en train de regarder une vidéo.
Ah ouais, la villa des cœurs brisés, aujourd'hui ça va être chaud.
Ah ouais, avec l'autre là, Antoine.
Antoine?
Bah avec sa fille qui vient d'arriver, Lise qui vient d'arriver là, qui se chamboule avec les deux autres. Là.
Moi avec la chinoise.
Ah ouais, Rime.
Et puis Rime. Qu'elle est repartie de son week-end en amoureux, le départ c'était une violente.
Bon, on va quitter, hop, on va relancer une nouvelle partie. On va mettre les modificateurs.
Oh, Bart il va être relâché.
Ah ouais.
Karim y arrive dans le commissariat. Et de retour au commissariat, Bart est relâché. C'est peut-être pas pour aujourd'hui aussi.
Donc, on doit activer toutes les lumières, toutes les portes ouvertes et les commentaires énoncés.
So, Christmas Duck. Christmas Duck is a fan favorite. He's kind of a mascot, I guess, and I think that's partly... Hi, I'm Steve Gaynor. I'm the co-founder of the Fulbright Company. We made Gone Home. I was the writer and designer, and thank you.
S'il y a des petites coupures de live, c'est parce que je regarde en même temps la vidéo pour me savoir où je dois aller.
Yeah, the biggest purpose of the Goodfellow High School jacket and the logo generally is a reference to the logo for Minerva's Den, the section of Rapture that the fact that there are speedruns for our game.
Bien.
The light switch and turn it on and then turn back to the direction they wanted to go.
Hello, my name is Kate Craig, and I was creating...
Oh man, mom handwriting. We went through a lot of different...
Hi, I'm Chris Remo, the composer on Gone Home. In my commentary tracks, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what went into creating the original music.
This is where you find the first half of Sam's locker, or I guess it's actually the second half of Sam's locker combo as far as what the piece of paper is. But at first, there were this.
Bon, bah ils ont plus de cheveux. Ils se sont coupés les cheveux. Ils ont plus de cheveux. Oh, j'aime pas comment ils sont coupés.
C'est Grisel qui l'a fait. Les vannes, on voit rien.
Attends, Ben. Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq.
Ben, même à Disney Fan à Paris, à Disneyland à Paris, regarde.
Ouais, il est beau lui aussi.
Bah lui, Khalid crachait du feu.
Ah ouais,
J'ai pas pu le prendre en photo là-bas, le téléphone il a failli tomber.
il crache du feu.
Ouais, il a craché une flamme, le feu, puis après c'était de la fumée, et à sa queue il y a de la fumée qui sortait aussi. T'entendais.
Ah bah lui aussi.
T'entendais. Enfin le bruit d'un dragon.
Ouais,
quoi.
mais
Truc de fou. Pour ça elle en avait peur, c'est Lionel, heureusement.
Bah ouais, c'est un vrai, pour eux c'est un vrai dragon.
Heavens to Betsy.
Dessus, hein. J'aurais pas pu avec elle.
And Heavens
Non,
to
mais pour eux,
Betsy
c'est un
was a
vrai dragon.
band that
Je lui ai
So
pris
here's
quand
one
on
of
est
Dad's
arrivé. Hein.
pulpy,
Après j'ai dû m'éloigner. Elle hurlait.
The doors were actually one of the hardest things in the
Père,
game to get working correctly, and I know that there's still some.
Here we have Fresh Magazine, which is
Inside of this file folder, you find the first. And then it was also the first key code in System Shock 2 and Deus Ex and Bioshock and most recently Dishonored. And yeah, I've personally when you're
so these are all the VHS tapes, or most.
My name is Sarah Grayson, and I do the voice of Sam Greenbrier in Gone Home. Currently based out of Portland, Oregon, so right around where the Fulbright Company is from.
Most of the bookshelves in the house are this.
Sam's story slash school assignment called class in high school to be.
I feel like one of the best bits of advice was actually from the Fulbright team before going in to do the first recording. And it was a suggestion that I should watch some episodes.
Composing the ambient exploration tracks definitely ended up being the weirdest part of creating music for Gone Home. The audio diaries tended to take
One of the larger assets that we need. Fantasies, which are like
Oh man, this thing.
So two things. One, Mom's Canadian.
Yay.
Two.
28 ou 11h58.
So there's a
Midi 28, au moins il m'en
You know,
va.
there was kind of this intellectual, cross-cultural.
There's a
Putback is the feature that I'm happiest with in the game, and it actually
Quoi?
came about as sort of a little bit of an accident.
Attends, Marina, attends dès que
They
tu
didn't
sors.
want to feel like some kind of horrible person rummaging around this house and tossing everything on the floor. But there wasn't really any other option initially. That's all you could do was sort of try and lob things back into the place. So, you know, I had done some code before for placing turrets and things in other games where it, you know, will arbitrarily orient an object to be perpendicular to surface and all that sort of stuff. I told Steve that, you know, we'd have a lot of edge cases with that and it would take some time to implement, and temporarily I would just give him the ability to put objects that these things would kind of stick to in the game, and we tried that and it worked so well that we decided to keep that, and that's
The music for Gone Home was mainly composed over very literally accompanying the story, was that I ended up hitting on pretty...
Dinosaure, c'est beau.
Fanzines, I mean, that's one of the things that we started doing right away, was doing these Riot Girl fanzines.
So earlier in...
all of the sliding doors that you see in the game are actually...
You know, it's really about the ideals. That's what they connect with.
Attention.
When you put...
For a long time, the kitchen was not going to be mid-renovation the way that it is.
Definitely the second half was where a lot more of the...
Oh, you found an Easter egg!
Who found it?
You found it! This is the best! You look...
Attends, je peux pas.
cats showing up on the television.
Ouais, casse-couille aussi.
Cats and friends of cats.
Yeah.
And we also we did a final wrap up.
So that.
I'd already played through the first full half of Gone Home before I started composing any music, which was really important to.
Really early on, we didn't really give Kate very specific direction. You want to talk?
Bon, Marina, commence pas à casser les bonbons. Déjà, casser les bonbons avec les bouteilles. Va pas te la ramener.
Ah, c'est le sien, ça. Et l'autre que t'as eu? Avec l'éléphant? Non, c'est un éléphant. Non. Avec Marina, tu lances le dé. Marina va dire comment on fait.
All the sliding doors that you see in the game are actually, from a code perspective, drawers. When I made a thing that could slide along a track like that, for the purpose of making drawers, Steve took it and, as designers are wont to do, used it for his own purposes and came up with sliding doors in our game.
Vous allez casser les bonbons combien de
We
temps,
never really
vous?
discussed the idea of individually scoring each audio log ahead of
Bah,
time.
si c'est joué,
I
fais
just
comme
got
toi.
an email one day from Steve after they had done the first round of voice recording.
I had seen Bikini Kill.
Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, huit, 9, 10.
They're in the 70s with, you know, SDSS and now.
1, 2,
So these are stereographic?
3, 4,
Mom and Dad are much.
5,
Yeah, I ended up being pretty happy with it.
6.
I was one of the hosts of the Idle Thumbs video game podcast for a year or two, and I, you know, go.
7.
Barfburger is enjoyed by all.
8.
A lot of Gone Home.
9.
The boxes of tampons.
10.
I mean, I've always one of the most. One of the most comforting things in the world to me is having somebody.
Mais lui, YouTube, tu quittes pas mes vidéos.
Or stroke my head like my mom when I wasn't feeling well. I'd lie down in her lap. She would just brush my hair.
Tu veux un sandwich avec du jambon et du beurre?
3,
Bah oui.
4.
Mais si, y a du beurre. Regarde, maman a mis du beurre.
Scalp being so intimate, it just made me think of that. Just those wonderful little moments where just a touch can be so much more.
The life cycle of the condom.
That's
One of my favorite things that came out during development was
Another board game.
So only worked because no one has ever called it out.
I know.
Is surprise, think about it, there are no shoes in this house. Ta-da!
Where's your brain now?
and I don't think anybody's noticed it. Almost none of the events, the little events in the game are...
I really enjoyed playing Gone Home. I have to say it was pretty exciting.
Okay, the Wildfire book. Oh man, look at this thing. Yeah, this was another one of those situations in which I totally felt like a weird creepo when I bondage suspenders.
That's true. So you had started working on it, and I went upstairs, and then I came back down.
And like Yana and I were like, you know, we're all like, what should we do for this?
And
thing?
I was like,
yeah.
those are fucking leather, Daddy. What are you doing?
And what
You want to talk about a place for Christmas stuff?
This is where.
It's one of those things where we had always wanted to... So this is the last room in the game, or at least the last room chronologically in the story.
We made it.
Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did.
Alors nous aussi, je dis une deuxième chose. Ah bah non, s'il te plaît, sors quand même la poubelle. Non. C'est pas juste, alors moi je choisis une deuxième chose. C'est quoi ta deuxième chose? Tu dois retrouver mon toutou que j'ai perdu. Mais bien ici, je sais pas comment tu l'as perdu, moi. Retrouver. Mais c'est possible. Si maman, tu peux très bien retrouver. C'est moi. Dans ce cas-là, j'ai intérêt de gagner. C'est demain que tu vas gagner, tu veux dire, même si tu t'es trompé. Bon, je vois partie et on verra. Ok. Je vais adorer quand tu vas faire mon machin encore en une semaine. Et sortir les poubelles. Des grosses poubelles. Des chaussettes. Des oignons. Tu sais que je joue à des jeux comme ça dans mes petites oreilles. Ah bah, ah non, ça veut dire que tu t'es entraîné, Verity. Bah oui. Et je risque de perdre. Bon, on va y aller. C'est toi qui tourne combien? Non, toi. Oh. Ok. Donc, avec cette baguette, je commence là, vers le bas. Et je dois suivre le chemin de la main sans toucher au fer. Là, ça va. Oh! Le problème arrive quand il y a des courbes. Donc bonne chance, j'ai perdu la première partie.
Non, moi je peux pas.
Au fait, le premier sera celui qui arrive le plus loin dans le chemin de la main. Est-ce que ça me semble un peu difficile, vérité? Donc voilà, c'est à toi de jouer.
D'accord, maman, j'y vais.
Ah c'est à moi, c'est mon tour. C'est pas évident. Donc c'est ici qu'on perd souvent. Donc je vais baisser et je vais essayer de me tourner les mains. Maintenant, est-ce que je peux tourner? Voilà, je pense que ça marche.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all the...
Je sais pas, mais je te promets, c'est pas moi qui l'ai mis là.
Mais je sais, Vérité, on était en train de jouer et elle a apparu. Mais on l'avait laissée dehors.
Putain, je l'ai pas eu, putain.
Bah oui, mais je comprends pas.
Allez, on y va. On la remet dehors. Alors mon cœur, tu verras. On va la mettre dans la poubelle et comme ça il sera extra avec nous.
Et on ferme la poubelle.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all. The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this. The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
Hop, je repars encore ici.
Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this.
Putain, je sais pas encore si ça m'énerve. Au moins 1 minute de jeu.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person. That I can't tell you all this.
Alors, putain, ça va être chiant ça. Arrête par là.
The sunset light in this house.
T'as qu'à bouger
is
ton
the
cul si tu veux
saddest
aller
thing
gâter
I've ever
Marty.
seen.
Toujours envie de te déplacer toi pour toi.
I just want to sleep.
Baisse ton son.
When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait.
J'ai pas encore réussi, c'est mort. Bah ouais, putain.
Katie, I'm so sorry.
Je peux pas être vite que ça.
That I can't be there to see you in person. That I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope...
Attends. Non! Attends, je fais pause.
Comment il fait?
Maintenant, remets. Toi, tu fais. Non, Regarde, elle met tout plein de réveil. La fille, elle met tout plein de réveil, t'as vu?
C'est déjà beau, et voilà. C'est bon.
The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs. I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all.
Ah, j'ai eu 3 fois obtenu Sprinter. Je crois que j'avais pas vu à Dieu. Donc là. Hop, là je fais combien de pourcents de trophée du coup? 52%. Donc là, faut que je rouvre Internet. Internet, il est où? Il est là. Donc là, on va faire 0,501. Bah dis-le-moi, donne-le-moi le commande. Bah je l'ai pas, moi, je sais pas où aller. Bah elle est où? Tu l'as mis où? Bah elle cherche pas le télécommande. Ouais, dernier trophée à faire, j'ai fini le jeu. Arrête avec la chaise là, tu fais peur au chien. Oh là là, vous êtes saoulant vous aujourd'hui.
Dear Katie, so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house. I'm in a new school. And my big sister being gone for a year doesn't make it any... The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. It's weird hanging out with girls. Daniel was around ever since I was little, and other girls? I don't know. But being around Lonnie came.
Hein? Arrête de te faire bébé, tu vas voler.
Over today, but everything was different. She was sitting at my desk chair, and she wouldn't look at me. Lonnie brought her hair dye over today. She said, I need to fix these roots. Think you could help? Dyeing hair is weirdly intimate. I don't know if I've touched someone else's scalp before. It's pretty intimate, right? It felt... Sometimes you just have to lie to Mom and Dad. Like when Lonnie asked me to see a band with her and stay over at her friend's place in the city after. That's a lie to Mom and Dad's situation. But it was so worth it. The girls on stage were just so loud and real and awesome. And everybody was moving together like one huge tide of sound. Between two songs, Lonnie leaned over and said, "Oh my God, you are so lucky you finished high school before we moved into this house." So, it's the first day of school, and there I am, introducing myself to the class, and I say that I just moved into the house on Arbor Hill. All of a sudden, every kid in the room turns and just stares like I suddenly transformed into a mutant. I just stood there, wishing pretty hard for a rewind button. Because now maybe nobody knows my name, but they all know who I am. The Psycho House girl. Great. At Todd's brother's place after the show, there was only a futon to sleep on, so Lonnie and I shared it. The lights went out. I was turned toward her. My eyes started to adjust, and then I could see she was looking at me, too. In the dark. You know that feeling where the first moment you see someone, it's like they have a big gold star around them, and you have to get to know them? Well, there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kind of punk, but sometimes I see her in this. When you live in one place your whole life, your next door neighbor is kind of like your default friend. And Daniel only got weirder over the years. So moving away has been a good excuse to, like, not see him anymore. But he did always have... So you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? Yeah, turns out it applies to Street Fighter too. At least I worked up the courage to walk into the 7-Eleven and ask for a turn, but all that practice at home did not exact...
Bonne décision. Je vais me débarrasser de cet objet-là. En y façon.
It's different now. I mean, we still hang out all the time like before. But now when no one else is around... Well... I'm so stupid sometimes. I was telling Lonnie that I got into my college summer program thing, and I was all making plans like, you should come visit me, stay in my dorm room. But she said, Sam, I ship out on June 6th. I was like, ship out? To where? Todd's band lost their singer. Todd said he sucked. Lonnie said he got sick of Todd's shit, and he was...
Maman, ouvre la douche du crâne. Ouvre la douche du crâne.
They tell you to stick with the group on field trips, Katie. There's a reason for that. Lonnie and I snuck off on the side paths at Multnomah Falls and got a little lost. Okay, a lot lost. Like, for hours. Right before the bus left, we found a trail and came running down the path, soaked and covered in mud, shouting for the bus not to leave. The school called home. Mom and Dad... I don't get Lonnie sometimes. Like her band and our...
Prends-le pas tout seul, t'en prendre parce que tu as volé.
Tu vas me le faire.
and her hair and everything are all anti-authority. Kate...
Là, il n'y a pas un truc à faire. Attends, moi, je vais là.
You know how Mom and Dad are. Not exactly super open-minded about things. It feels like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen if they...
Non, c'est à côté. Où est-ce qu'il y a un truc rouge? Oui.
You know Dad's joke about the nunnery that he'd tell whenever he brought boys around the old house? I wonder where he'd want to send me.
Qu'est-ce que se passe? Maman, j'ai l'impression qu'il y a quelque chose qui me regarde.
I had it.
Attends.
Il n'y a pas la truc. Non. Attends.
Interesting talk with Mom and Dad tonight. One you were never gonna need to have. I mean, you've...
Quoi? Tu veux te couvrir? Pousse la tête là. Ah bon, ça peut toi. Qu'est-ce que tu veux? Tu veux te couvrir? M'énerve là. Ouais, non, c'est pas toi. Regarde, commande toi. Du coup, je me rappelle plus où je voulais, putain.
Si, c'est pas sage.
Mais non, pas toi.
Lonnie
Oh
had
là
a going
là.
away show with her band tonight. She's so incredible on stage. When she was singing, I could practically forget. We agreed.
Oh, il y en a plus. J'ai donné les 2 derniers.
C'est à moi.
Last night together would be our happiest ever, and we'd forget tomorrow was going to come at all. It worked for a while. We had a good time seeing Oscar off, then ran up to the attic to look through our photos, to find one for Lonnie to take with her. And looking at them, Daniel finally came over to get his...
Alors, Verity.
Voilà, tu t'es bien caché, hein?
Oui.
Quoi? Moi aussi. Oh là là. Ok, d'accord.
Papa, il y a un problème.
Attends.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ça parle, ça fait 1, 2, 3. Ça parle, mais ça va plus avec ça. Ça va un peu plus là.
Quoi? Mon père?
game. I'd been dreading it. But he brought this story with him that I wrote when we were little. I started reading it, and then there I was, crying at the kitchen table. He asked what was wrong. I asked Lonnie what she had to do to get ready to ship out for basic training. She said, not a lot, really. You're not allowed to bring anything with you. You have no possessions, no contact with the outside world while you're in basic. You just train hard every day, and then you deploy from there. So, they'll just send her away.
Yep. J'ai vu dans ma terre. Il est là. Il est où là?
To who knows where? The other side of the country? The other side of the world? My mind, can't process it. She's really going to be gone. Just gone. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Oh my God, Katie, I fell asleep in the attic, in Lonnie and my old spot, and I missed the first 2 calls. I just barely caught the 3rd one before the machine got it. And it was Lonnie, on a payphone.
Au moment où j'ai fini le jeu à 100% les amis. 100%. Je finis encore. Donc les amis, j'ai fini le jeu. C'est la fin de la vidéo. Je vous dis à plus tard dans une prochaine vidéo ou un prochain live pour finir un nouveau jeu avec vous. Allez, à plus tout le monde. Allez, ciao, bye bye.